Welcome to Northwest Airguns. I'm John, and this is part 2 of our multi-part series about an airgun collection that we purchased, Airgun Charlie's collection. And we're going through it kind of box by box, and these first couple of boxes are pretty involved because they're mainly pistols. And there's a lot of pistols in each box. The rifle boxes, there's not as many guns. And today we're going to look at box number 6. I got box 6 and box 7 kind of mixed up in our first video, but this is box number 6 that we're looking at, and the part 1 was box number 7. And not all in this collection is wheat. They're not all diamonds. There's a little bit of chaff mixed in here as well. And I pulled out a couple of them. This is a Marksman, and this is a model that I think was pretty common when I was a kid, although Charlie wrote down here that it's rare. You know, maybe it is, because it has shoots pellets and BBs, both. This is the Morton H. Harris version from Beverly Hills, California. Well, it's from Beverly Hills. It's got to be kind of upscale. And this has an interesting feature down here in the grip. If you can see that, you can put your BBs in that hole there and store them right in the grip. And it says pellets. Well, if you want to store pellets, I guess you would go around, let's see here, you go around to there and store your pellets in there. So that's a feature that I guess, well, it couldn't have been that great of an idea because nobody else has done it. Another one here is this is a Crossman 338. A nice gun, got good heft to it, seems to be intact. A CO2 gun, and you know, there's nothing wrong with it particularly, but Charlie's got it here at excellent condition and $100 value. Well, if I could get $100 for this, I would be very happy. In the excellent condition, I might be stretching it since you need a rubber band to hold the grips on. Well, here's another one. You know, I'm not taking anything away from the Daisy Powerline Model 45 CO2. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just this is not a rare gun particularly. It's not particularly well built. I think it would be kind of a fun one to shoot, but in terms of the collection, it just doesn't add that much to it. And Charlie had it here. Well, he didn't say, oh, it jams, so things get even better. Continuing on with box number 6, they were all pistols in that box except for this one rifle. And this is a Crossman 180, and it looks to be in pretty good shape. Charlie's note here says leaks. Okay, so it does leak. This is the one I think takes just the single cartridge here, the CO2 canister, and but it's in good shape. So this is a nice gun. It's got some wear on it, a nice patina on the barrel and the tube. So here's the this, you know, this stock has got a real you know, the grain is not tight. It's kind of wide, but it's not a bad looking stock. It looks like somebody may have refinished this. But what they did is they added to the butt of it, and I'm not sure what happened to the butt, if it had been damaged or something. But they did a pretty nice job of adding here, and then they put a sissy pad on it as well. And yeah, maybe not so great on the sissy pad, but this may have been to lengthen the stock. You know, who knows why somebody would do something like that. But it does make it nice to hold. And one thing about these 180s, you know, people ask a lot of times about youth rifles and what would be a good youth rifle. Well, you know, this is CO2, so it does take something to power it. But, you know, it's fairly light and reasonably accurate, and this might not be a bad choice for somebody looking to fit one of their kids, you know, an 8, 9, 10-year-old kid with something like this. And you could shorten the stock to get the length of the pull so that it's more suitable for a younger shooter. And that may be what happened, is they cut it off for the younger shooter, and then they grew up, had to lengthen it back out. Well, starting off the pistol section of box number 6, we're going to take a look at this one first. This is kind of an interesting pistol. It's a Roguns or Roguns, I'm not sure how you say it. It's a 22 caliber Condor, and it's made in the Philippines. This is a bulk gun CO2. You can see the CO2 bulk fill here. And I don't know much about these Philippine guns, but apparently the government there banned firearms, and so Filipino hunters and other shooters started switching over to other types of guns, and the CO2 apparently works really well in the Philippines given the climate and that type of thing. And so this is a pistol that came out of that era. It's a single shot with the loading port there. Pretty nice sight. And I couldn't find any reference to this in the Blue Book, or anywhere else for that matter, of a Roguns pistol. But it's not what I would call a high quality. It looks a little rough. It's been used, of course, but it looks a little rough. But it seems to be really sturdy, is what impresses me. You know, kind of built like a tank. And Charlie says this is a very powerful, a large CO2 bulk tank, I guess, and adjustable trigger. Not sure how you adjust it, and adjustable power. Again, I don't know how you adjust the power either. But it's got pretty hefty hammer there. Adjustable sights, these are pretty nice. The front sight's a little rough. You can see it's been scratched up or worn some of the finish off over time, or that could be on purpose, I don't know. So this is an interesting pistol, and Charlie said 550 feet per second in the 22 caliber, which doesn't seem terribly out of line, but clearly a gun that's built for power, maybe more than for target shooting, that kind of thing. Now we've got a Shiloh here, I think. Yeah, Shiloh Pistol, the revolver, got the CO2. How does this work? Folds down, the CO2 cartridge goes in here, and then you can tighten that down, I guess, to pierce it, I don't know. Revolver. And I'm not sure if it cocks or not. I'll have to play with this a little bit, but it's in nice shape. I got to say, it looks nice. There's no damage to it. Yeah, I'm impressed. Charlie had this at $165. I don't know about that, but for those of who are into these replicas, this might be a nice gun. Okay, this is a couple of the bulk fill Crossman guns. This one is a 116, I believe, and this one is a 112. And they're pretty much identical except for the tube. On the one, it's quite a bit longer here. And this is the shorter tube here. So even though they're bulk fill, this will get more shots. And it also has a little bit longer barrel. And they say for, you know, what is that, 1.5, 2 inches of barrel, you're going to pick up, you know, what, 15 feet per second. for each inch of barrel on these things. They're both in really good shape and look like they have the original finish to them. That's a nice gun. That's in really good shape. Got the crinkle finish here on the trigger part of it, and the gloss on the other part. And this one's same way. It's in really good shape. Nice grips. Nice crinkle on around the trigger, and I don't believe this has been refinished, and it's in really remarkably good condition. Well, this next gun kind of freaked me out a little bit. It feels like a firearm, and when I first picked it up, you can see the brass in here. I thought, wow, this is, I didn't realize I was getting one of these in there, but it turns out it is a Colt single action Army 45, but it's a model of TRC, whatever that is. So it doesn't fire, it's a non-firing replica. But sure freaked me out when I saw it and took a quick look at it. I don't think the hammer actually strikes. No, I guess it does actually. But anyway, it shoots these kind of, I don't know if they're blanks or what they are. I don't know what it is. It says it's a non-firing replica. And so I'll have to figure out what that means, and that's what the ammunition looks like here. But it sure got my attention when I pulled this out of its sock. So we got the Crossman Target Gun here. This is it's the 177 version, I believe. Yeah, the Mark II. And these are really nice guns. They're target models. And I don't know, this one seems to be frozen up, but they're CO2 powered, and they're really popular because you can customize them and do different things. And Mac 1 Airgun shop used to buy these for, I think, $125 a crack, and then convert them to what they call the LD pistol, which is a bulk fill version of this. They do a lot of other things too besides bulking it. But they're not doing that anymore, so the price is set by the market now. This one, Charlie says was rare. Well, I don't know if I would call these rare. And the Mark II is the 177. The Mark I is this other one here, and this is the 22 version. And this is also in really pretty good shape. You can see all the paint is pretty well intact, and seems to operate. This one does. These are nice guns. I probably, because I don't have one, I may keep both of these. This one here is a Crossman V300 BB pistol, and I'm not familiar with this, but it's got some heft to it. It's a nice looking gun, and I think you load the BBs in the front end here, and then I don't know if you have to hold it up or shake it to get the BB to engage. But the interesting thing on this is that the cocking link back here in the handle, and I checked this, it's empty. Oh, it's got a little bit of spring twang to it, but nice pistol. What else we got here? Here's what is this? 38T. It says excellent condition, and maybe it is. I don't know, but yeah, it looks like it's in pretty good shape. This is a magazine-fed CO2 pistol. Nice little gun. There's several of these Crossman 130s in this collection in box number 6, and this is one of them. It suffers from a droopy cocking lever, and it looks to me like this has been customized. I'm not sure how all this stuff works otherwise. Yeah, this just puts the pellet in there, and then I'm not sure if this is supposed to be a caulking link. Oh, this is a self-caulker, isn't it? I bet that's what it is. I'll have to play with this and see if they converted it over to a self-caulker. Crossman 130, he says rare. Yeah, well, maybe, but there's 3 of them in the collection here. But like I say, this has been customized somehow, because I don't think these are original parts here. So that'll take a little investigation to figure out what's going on with this one. Let's see. This is a Crossman 45 or 454. Yeah, 454. This is a repeater. BBs go in here, or pellets, I guess. And then it's a CO2 gun. Oh, there they come. So it was apparently loaded. Says here, Charlie says, works good. But the tank leaks. Okay, so we've got something wrong with the seals in this one. Yeah, I'm not sure about this one here. It says he believes it's rare, doesn't know the value, and it's a precise Roger, which is made by Mondial out of Italy, and it's a CO2 pellet pistol, and seems nicely made, actually, and I don't know how you load it, or oh, there's the loading port there. But seems like it's well made, so that might be one that I would want to play with a little bit. And you know, BB guns are fun more than accurate, but the fun ones are really fun. What else we got? We got another one of these Plainsmans. This is the Health Waste Plainsman, and this one's in really good shape. So that makes 3 of these that we've seen so far. Kind of an odd setup here with the CO2 cover plate. But this was in really good shape here. I'm impressed with the condition on this. It says small cylinder, Plainsman 175. A nice pistol. And let's see, this is the Crossman 150. I can tell it needs some work already because the safeties doesn't work. Oh, maybe it does. No, it doesn't work. Nice gun, and this one is in not new condition, but in really, really nice condition. So that's a nice pistol. These 150s were pretty nice target guns, and they made a version of this that they sold at Sears called the Ted Williams, and I think I've got a Ted Williams around here somewhere. That's a used canister. If you shoot out a canister, you probably should take it out, because sometimes these will get stuck in the tube, and you got to figure out how to get them out. And a lot of times, if you do get it out, you're pulling some seal material with it, so it won't seal back up. And this one shoots good. Take hunting. This next gun, it's kind of an interesting gun, I guess. It's called the Selector. These were made in the early 70s and late 60s. This is a versatile defensive weapon. And what it is it's CO2 powered, and has a magazine here. This is the elevator spring and I guess the ramp for it, so that you would load in there and they would be pushed up. The magazine fits under the gun like that, and so it would push the round up in there and you'd fire it off. And then what happens, I think this comes out the top, because what you're doing is you're firing this plastic bullet essentially out of the canister here. And these fired these, and, you know, I've read up on these a little bit, but there's only very limited information about them. but they shot these kind of rounds which were intended to hurt. So if you're, it's a versatile defensive weapon. So, you shoot somebody with this, it doesn't kill them, but it sure stings, and it'll mark them up with some welts too. It also shot, though, other types of things. I guess there was a shotgun round. There was a smoke bomb round in this, and there was an exploding round that exploded on impact. So you would shoot somebody, and the thing would hit them and explode with a big noise, and that would scare them off or whatever. And they also shot marking rounds, sort of like a predecessor to paintball, so that you could shoot somebody and then law enforcement could later identify them just by the paint marks on them. So I've got one of these, and unlike pretty much everybody else in the world, I actually have two of them in this collection. So I went from having 0 selectors to having a pair of them. This one came with the holster, of course, and one magazine. No, the magazine says Stinger, so you use this magazine with these kind of rounds. And I guess the other magazines would say something else, stink bomb or paintball or something. But this one's in good shape too. I mean, they're both in remarkably good shape. CO2 goes in the hand grip here. And that's about all I know about them. So if you have familiarity with these things, drop me a note. I'd be curious to see how they operate, and any information would be appreciated on them. I got a call the other day from the son-in-law of Charlie's son-in-law, and said that he'd found another box of stuff and wanted to get it to me. So I drove down and met him and picked it up, and it was a box with, just a small box with odds and ends in it. And so I went through it. I found a couple of things that I thought were interesting. These are, just BBs, and I don't think there's, this is like modern. But this brought a smile to my face, because this is basically what we used to be able to buy as kids at the 3rd Avenue Market on the east side of the Napa Valley. And we could ride our bicycles with our BB guns on the handlebars and find Coke bottles. And back in those days, people driving down the road, if they're drinking soda, when they're done, they would just roll down the window and toss the bottle out into the ditch next to the road. So us kids would go around and find those bottles. We get 3 cents for the small Coke bottle, a nickel for the big one, and that was enough. We'd get 3 or 4 bottles. We had enough money to go buy a couple of these packages of BBs. So anyway, this just kind of brought a smile to my face, a little bit of nostalgia. All right, we're going through the box a little bit more. These are parts, and I don't know what they're parts to. This looks like a breech from a 1322 or something, a sight, some kind of internals. This might be out of one of the pistols. What do we got here? And more parts. Charlie was a plumber, so some of this might be stuff that that he put together, or I don't know what they are, but anyway, some sort of parts. If you know what they are, if you're interested in them, let me know, and I'm just going to, let's see here. Those went there like that. Okay. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, drop me a line. I don't know what it is, and stuff like that is going to go into the trash bin probably. Speaking of parts, this is a tube, Trapmaster 1100 chamber, used. good condition. Again, I don't know what I would do with something like this. I got no use for it really. So that's another one that somebody wants it, we'll figure out how to get it to you. But otherwise, it'll probably go in the trash. Okay, this is something. It says here it's a BB gun scope mount, and you know, maybe it is. I don't know what it goes to, how it works, or anything. But if you do know, drop me a note. If this is useful to you, drop me a note. And it says $2. I don't know if that's what Charlie paid for it or what he thought it was worth. But anyway, I don't know what guns it goes to or how it operates. So if you can help me out there, I'd appreciate it. Well, back in the day, you know, the Benjamin and Crossman and different gun makers would sell you pellets, but they also had darts. And here's a package full of these darts. I always thought these were kind of fun looking just because of the colorful nature of them. Some of them look like they're steel, others maybe aluminum, I don't know. They feel kind of heavy. And when you got a brass barrel and you're shooting something that's steel out of it, that's probably, you know, not good for the barrel. But anyway, they used to sell these. And they're fun to watch, and they're fun to look at because you can kind of see them fly through the air a little better than you can a pellet. But they're not very accurate. They're just kind of a gimmicky thing for us kids to play with. Okay, well, this stuff came for the Trap Master, the Crossman 1100, which is the old shotgun. It's made for just a few years. It shoots balls, 380, what are these, 380s? Yeah, 380 gauge balls, or it shoots these shot shells. And let's see, we got some that are, and here's what the shells look like. And these are full of, what is it, number 8 shot. You have to use lead shot in this because the barrels on the 1100s are made out of aluminum. So you have to have a softer material. If you use steel shot, well, you'll mess up your barrel. And these came with some empties. You can see that. And some wads that you would use. Matter of fact, this little tin is full of the wads. Get that open. So I've got quite a few there. So if I get some number 8 lead shot, and if we can still get that here in California, I can reload these. And what you need is a tool like this. And this is something I had previously. But so you take your shot or your shell, stick a wad in there, and push it through like so. Fill it up with shot, and then stick another wad in the other end. Turn the tool around and put it in. So that way you're ready to shoot. And so anyway, that's how you do it, I think. It's been a while since I did any loading or reloading on these. So that's a nice find because these are hard to get anymore. And the wads, similarly, the wads are kind of hard to get. So that's a nice find. And okay, and the last part of the box, we got a bunch of these plastic containers. This one said Sheridan Airgun tool, so I was pretty excited about this. But then when I opened it up, it has one of these hand pieces where you pump against it and it goes on the barrel, and that's nice. It has one of these bolt lug tools, and I don't know if that's homemade or where Charlie got it. And then it had this valve tool. I'm going to zoom in here on this one. And this valve tool is a little bit unusual in that it's made out of square stock, and everything happens at the one end. You can see it's got, it's been taken down a little bit in size so that it'll fit around the nut, and then it's relieved on the inside with threads further in. So I hadn't seen one like this, at least not up close. And I'm going to try it out and see how it works. And I'll let you know if this is an improvement on the design, or maybe it was just too costly to make this, or what, but we'll try it out. This is another one I was pretty excited about. It says Crossman Airgun, and there's a bunch of stuff in here. Well, most of it turns out is O-rings, which, you know, that's fine, nothing wrong with that, but we don't know how old they are and if they're in decent shape or not. But this is kind of what the thing looked like. We got a bunch of safety parts here, some springs, some valves, and some of these valves look new and some look like they've been used, exhaust valves for different guns. So anyway, just some spare parts that might come in handy at some point. Another box of parts. And one thing I'll say about Charlie is he labeled things pretty well when he put them away like this. So we know that these are the Daisy 2202 parts. I don't even know what that is, but you know, he put a little label in with a lot of these so that you kind of know where they're going to go to. I was excited by this, some of these envelopes, but it turns out these are just spare parts. Well, it's you know, a couple screws and a nut, basically, and some old O-ring. So anyway, spare parts. And then the other one that I thought, well, this is possibly a good thing, is this one, Daisy Model 21 double barrel shotgun. Well, that got my interest. You know, the son-in-law had mentioned that there were a couple of shotguns in this collection, and I thought, well, that probably is going to be the Trapmaster, but we'll see. There may be some Daisy 21s in one of these boxes too. This is it's just not a Daisy tool. This is a Briggs & Stratton, and I'm not sure what it's for, but it must have some application with the Model 21. And there's some spare parts here. I don't know where he picked them up, nuts and bolts. These are the plungers, I think, for the shotguns. So a few odds and ends. It raises some hope that there's a couple of shotguns in here, and we'll see as we go through the other boxes. So that's it for that box of stuff that we got after the fact, and this is my favorite out of the whole box right there.